The desert stretched endlessly beneath the burning Egyptian sun, its golden sands shimmering like molten fire. The year was 1827, an age when European empires sent their scholars, adventurers, and fortune-seekers deep into foreign lands, hungry for secrets and riches buried for millennia. In that old 1800s world, Egypt was a land of fascination, a place where the past spoke from every stone, whispering of forgotten kings and gods. Professor Alistair Hawthorne adjusted his wide-brimmed hat and squinted against the glare. His horse trudged onward, hooves sinking into the sand with every step. Behind him followed a small caravan, crates of supplies, water skins, a hired team of diggers, and his most trusted companions, his apprentice Evelyn Carter and the Egyptian guide Hakim ibn Khalid. Alistair was a man of reputation in London's scholarly circles, though his methods were considered unorthodox. He cared little for preserving relics in dusty museums, his passion lay in uncovering truths buried by time, even if it meant defying superstition or law. Evelyn, barely in her 20s, had studied ancient languages under his guidance, her mind sharp and skeptical. Hakim, tall and weathered by the desert, knew the land and its dangers better than any book could tell. They had journeyed weeks across the scorched earth to reach the Valley of Kings, drawn by rumors carried from one caravan to another, rumors of a tomb untouched by thieves, sealed away by a sandstorm centuries ago. By late afternoon, the sky turned bronze, and the air shimmered with heat. It was then that fate intervened. A sudden gust roared through the valley, whipping sand into the air, a storm that blinded them. The diggers shouted, shielding their faces, while Evelyn clung to her scarf. Then, as quickly as it had risen, the wind subsided, leaving behind an altered landscape. Where before there had been only smooth sandstone cliffs, now a darkened outline emerged. Evelyn, wiping grit from her eyes, was there. The lanterns flickered as if stirred by a breath that none of them could feel. Though the air was still, Evelyn wrapped her shawl tighter around her shoulders, her pulse quickening. She forced herself to focus on the inscriptions sprawling across the walls. Unlike other tombs she had studied, these writings were chaotic, almost frantic, as though carved in desperation rather than ceremony. She raised the lantern closer. "Professor, these hieroglyphs, they're unusual. See here, this isn't a funerary spell. It's more like prophecy." Alistair, kneeling beside the sarcophagus, barely looked up. His eyes gleamed with feverish excitement. Prophecy, funerary rites, curses, they're all superstition. What matters is that this tomb is pristine. Imagine what we can present to the Royal Society. The golden mask alone will make us legends. Evelyn hesitated, tracing the carved symbols with her fingertips. One phrase repeated over and over, "The mask is the key. The mask is the prison." Hakim muttered under his breath, his voice edged with fear. "The writings tell you what I warned. This is not a tomb, it is a cage." But Alistair only laughed, his voice echoing too loudly in the chamber. "Nonsense. Pharaohs were buried with grandeur, and priests loved to frighten the gullible. Hakim, we are scholars, not children cowering at ghost stories." Yet even as he spoke, the shadows shifted unnaturally against the walls. Evelyn stiffened. From the corner of her vision, she thought she saw a figure painted on the wall turn its head ever so slightly. She blinked, and it was gone. Trying to steady herself, she unrolled her notebook and began sketching the murals. They depicted not just the pharaoh in regal splendor, but battles against monstrous figures, beings with jackal heads and skeletal forms. Stranger still were images that did not belong to Egypt at all, scenes of massive wheels, towers spewing smoke, and ships with sails of fire. She frowned. "These are impossible," she murmured. The sigh that escaped the sarcophagus lingered in the chamber like smoke, filling every corner of the airless tomb. Evelyn staggered back, clutching her chest. Her rational mind screamed that it could not be possible, stone and gold could not breathe. And yet, she had heard it. Alistair, however, leaned closer, his expression rapturous. "Do you hear it, Evelyn? The pharaoh lives still. His spirit remains. We have uncovered not merely history, but eternity itself. Hakim's voice thundered, shattering the silence. You fool! This is not life, it is the curse. He grabbed Alistair's arm, but the professor shoved him away, his eyes wild. Stay your hand. Alistair snapped. This is my discovery, my legacy. You will not rob me of it. Before Evelyn could intervene, the ground trembled. Dust fell from the ceiling, and the painted gods upon the walls seemed to shimmer in the torchlight. The workers shrieked and fled toward the tunnel, their cries echoing into the distance. A low rumble vibrated through the stone, and then, the eyes of the golden mask flickered. Evelyn's knees nearly gave way. For the briefest instant, she saw them open. Not stones reflecting firelight, but human eyes, black as obsidian, staring back at her. Hakim cried out in terror and bolted for the entrance, but the ground split beneath him. The stone floor cracked, and with a deafening roar, part of the passage collapsed. When the dust cleared, Hakim was gone, swallowed by the earth itself. Evelyn gasped, choking on the dust. Hakim! But Alistair paid no heed. His hands hovered over the mask, trembling with desire. He calls to me, he whispered. He offers knowledge, power, more than any mortal could dream. Professor! Evelyn grabbed his arm desperately. Don't you see? He isn't offering, he's luring you. The writing said this was no tomb, but a prison. If you remove the mask, you'll unleash him. Her words barely pierced the haze of obsession clouding Alistair's eyes. Slowly, reverently, he. The chamber convulsed as if the very earth rebelled against the pharaoh's awakening. The shadows he commanded swirled like a black tide, jackal-headed specters closing in with hollow snarls. Evelyn's lungs burned, her hands trembling, but she forced herself to move, darting between fallen columns and broken treasures. Above, the circle of sunlight pierced the darkness like a blade from heaven. It fell squarely across the sarcophagus, the same beam that had kept the mask bathed in light for centuries. Evelyn realized with icy certainty that this was the key. The sun itself had been the ward, a celestial seal chosen by the ancients to bind the pharaoh's power. If she could trap him in that light again, the prison might hold. But how? He moved with inhuman strength, his shadowy guardians herding her like prey. And inside that monstrous figure was still the man who had been her mentor, Alistair Hawthorne, his body enslaved by a king who should have remained buried forever. The pharaoh's laughter filled the chamber, cold and triumphant. You flee like a rat in the dark. There is no escape. Bow, and I may grant you a painless end. Evelyn steadied her breath, clutching the shard of limestone like a dagger. If you are as mighty as you claim, she called, her voice echoing across the hall, then why do you hide in the shadows? Step into the sun, Pharaoh. Show me your power. The word struck a nerve. His golden mask turned toward her, the eyes glowing with molten hatred. The air grew colder. You dare mock me? Evelyn forced herself to smirk though terror gnawed at her insides. A god unafraid of the light should have nothing to fear. Or is it the sun itself that shames you? The pharaoh's fury shook the walls. Statues split, dust cascaded, and the jackal figures snarled as though sensing their master's rage. With a guttural roar, he advanced, his movements unnaturally fluid, the mask gleaming in the torchlight. Evelyn retreated deliberately, weaving between columns.